What up, y'all? Let's jump into it. Today we're talking evolutionary pressure. I'm gonna explain what that is and why it's important and how that'll help you make more money. It'll help you have more success when it comes to dating and to have better relationships. So the other day, a friend of mine sends me a video, and it's a video of a South African water buffalo running through the jungle. And as it's running, it gets attacked by lions. And this fucking buffalo takes off, hurdles a lion, bumps into another lion, jumps through a river, and traverses the river and gets to the other side and takes off. That is evolutionary pressure. So the pressure to survive forces that water buffalo, which is kind of like a cow, but that was no ordinary cow. That motherfucker bolted. He was gone. He had power. He had an urgency to him. But he developed those skills through evolution because of survival of the fittest. And that, my friend, is exactly what evolutionary pressure does to a man as well. So you can become the metaphorical cow, just kind of sit around, eat the grass, kind of take in what comes to you. Hey, fair enough. But you're just going to be a cow. Or you can be like the water buffalo and can be primed for survival. In fact, what I want to teach you is how to transition from being the hunted to the hunter. That's how you move through life. That's how we're going to do it in a very, we're not going to be dicks about it, right? But we're going to make more money that way. We're going to have better relationships. You're going to be way more attractive. Your girl ain't going to cheat on you. She ain't going to dump you because you're going to have maximum value. So let's peel back that onion a little bit and look at some of these layers of how we create that. And I want to add on to even like why it's more important, because you might just be thinking like, okay, cool, evolutionary pressure. Yeah, I got to do like some challenging shit. Homie, I'm telling you right now, it's deeper than that. Because let's start with money. Let's start with money a little bit. There's another book I'll share with you an insight from, another story. There's a book called Who Moved My Cheese by Ken Blanchard. It's an old school business book, very simple read. And essentially, it's about a story of mice who live in a maze. And every day, these mice go out and they have to look for cheese. So they're looking for the cheese. They're looking for the cheese. And then one day, a big old block of cheese gets planted inside the maze. And so the mice are like, yo, we don't got to go hunting for cheese no more. This is fantastic. So they sit around, they eat the cheese, they go to bed at night, they wake up. There's still cheese there. This is fantastic. They keep eating the cheese, except for one mouse. One mouse is like, I don't know about all this. And that mouse every day would leave and go out and explore. He'd still go through the maze. He'd look for the little crumbles of cheese over and over and over. And he watched as those other mice gained weight, got out of shape, started to get a little lazy, started to get a little fat. And then one day, guess what happened? The title of the book, Who Moved My Cheese? One day, those mouse woke up and that cheese was gone. Then what? They all looked around and they didn't know what to do. They forgot how to hunt. My friend, that's an energy. That's evolutionary pressure. So guess what? The one mouse who was still going out all the time, they looked to him. They're like, yo, lead us, help us. It's exactly what's going on in our society right now. Is we've created a culture of comforts. And because of many reasons, right? But one of them is social conditioning, commercials, like the things you're exposed to kind of show you like, hey, you have to have this new shiny thing. Did you get the new PlayStation? Did you get the new Xbox? Did you get the new car that drives itself? Did you get this kind of food and eat this? Oh, look how yummy and tasty that is. And so everything's moving you towards comfort, comfort, comfort. And what happens when you do that, there is no evolutionary pressure. Even your job, hey, it's there. I got enough money in my paycheck. I can eat out. Maybe I don't really even cook anymore. Maybe I don't think about evolving, developing myself more because I just kind of get comfortable in my job. Like, think about it, man. You've been doing a job that doesn't really require you to grow for a decade. Bro, what's up with that? Like, what is that going to create? Is that the mouse in the maze who's eating all the cheese, the big block that just got set there? Every 2 weeks, I get a paycheck. All I got to really do is just show up. Now, think about that compared to someone in life who has to hunt, has to make their own income, or who is learning how to do that, or wants to go down that road, what is their brain like when they wake up? They wake up like the lion in the African safari in the jungle, going, where's my next meal? I got to eat. I got to stay sharp. And they move out differently. They have a different walk. There's a different cadence in their step when they move. There's a little more swagger in them. Now let's tie that into making money, because it's going to keep like that primal instinct, right? You're going to kind of be like, if I know I have to hunt every day to make money, my brain starts to get wired towards that. I got to work on my like communication skills, my sales skills, my presentation skills. I wonder who I can learn from. Who's already doing what I do, but they're further out in the field. They've already gone there, right? They're already successful in this arena. How do I find that person and learn from them? Now, what skill am I like a little weak on, or am I lacking? Where can I sharpen this? How can I expose myself to more data so I can use that data to change directions in my life? Very different from someone who just wakes up, oh, the alarm clock went off. I guess this is what I'll wear today. Head to the office. No real growth, no real opportunity. I make enough money. It's not what I want. None of it's really what I want, but it's enough. That's the phrase we call golden handcuffs. They're handcuffs, man. They're golden, but they're still handcuffs, dog. Just be aware of that. And that's going to influence your ability to make more money. Because let's say we got person A and person B. Person A, who's just waking up doing the norm, maybe doing something they don't really enjoy, no real evolutionary pressure to evolve and get better. Like, how does their mind, when it comes to making more income, like if you think of it like a field, I always think of this like a football analogy. I played quarterback, right? And one of the things you got to do is see the field. Like, the more field you can see, the better decisions you can make. But what's their field of vision when they think of making more money? It's probably asking for a raise, getting promotion, all fair things, maybe finding a different job. But what is that like? What's the fractionality, the fraction of the increase? It's marginal, it's small, right? Maybe you go from making 50 to 60, 50 to 55, 100 to 112. Like, that's the kind of like incremental increases. And again, that's cool. But really what happens is, what do? We just talked about it. You find more comforts. So that money goes to creating more comfort for yourself. And then you're kind of in the same spot. You're a hamster in the motherfucking wheel. Groundhog's Day. Everything starts to just feel the same. So again, by keeping your instincts sharp, when you go, damn, I got to make more money, what's your brain starts to do? Person B, I want to increase my income. I want to have more flexibility. They're looking differently. They're going, yo, how do I do that? How do I add an extra revenue stream into what I do? Damn, how do I make this revenue stream more passive, meaning it can make money on its own? Shit, how do I make it so my money starts to create its own compounding interest? What can I do? So you're looking at things a little bit differently, right? And not that it's so black and white. There's nuances and people in between those worlds, and we can move back and forth, right? It's not just black and white, but it gives you a more clear understanding of what the pressure can actually create. We need some form of pressure. Like, look, a lot of y'all motherfuckers, this is just the hard facts, still live with your mom and dad. And you're in your 20s. Maybe you're older than that. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? You're avoiding the influence of evolutionary pressure. And there's a cost to that. Now, unless you're living with your parents and you're like, yo, I'm fucking working on my business, or I'm going to school, or I'm like improving myself, and that's an opportunity that helps me save money and really focus on my goals and hammer this thing out, then we'd say that could be a strong benefit, right? Because you're adding evolutionary pressure to your reality already by like trying to create the business, trying to go to school, whatever it is you're doing to increase where you're at. Like, you're creating that evolutionary pressure. But you got to be honest with yourself and make sure you actually are doing that. Like, are you actually influencing yourself through that evolutionary style of pressure? If not, this is person B, right? It's just not that hard. I don't really have any bills. I get to just kind of make some money and just have enough money. And then you're kind of in this like wishing for an opportunity someday. Like one day something will shift, something will happen to me in life. But in sports, we call this you're not ready for the stage, you're not ready for the field, you're not ready for the big moment. It's like maybe you do get called into the Super Bowl. It's Tom Brady, right? Like, I don't know if you know about the story of Tom Brady, but he was the backup. And Drew Bledsoe, who was the starting quarterback, got injured in the playoffs. And Tom Brady, I believe it was the playoffs. Yeah, it was the playoffs. Tom Brady gets his shot. Now, are you ready? Now, Tom Brady was mentally ready for it. He was prepared. He had been studying. He'd been preparing as if he was the starter. And so when that moment came, of course he was ready. Got you, coach. I got you, team. Let's ride. And guess what? 7 Super Bowls later, and he's probably the greatest quarterback of all time. But he was applying the evolutionary pressure to himself. But if you just taking it easy, and then one day the Super Bowl does happen in life, you do get that moment, you do get that opportunity, you ain't going to be ready for it. Oh, what do I do? Oh, I don't know. It's too much, right? Maybe it's the girl. Maybe it's the income situation. Maybe it's an opportunity to do something, to influence somewhere. You ain't ready for it. So you got to be honest with yourself and go, am I using this to create advantages in my life? And I'm pushing myself, or am I actually staying with my parents to avoid the call, the hero's journey? You've heard me talk about this before. Joseph Campbell's book, The Hero's Journey, which is very real. It's Star Wars. It's going and meeting the mentor, facing the battle, taking on Darth Vader, moving towards the challenge, the call of life. It's Lord of the Rings. It's all these epic archetypes that really speak to a man because it's true. It's what you're called to. It's what you're being beckoned towards. And you can avoid that, and you can want mom and dad to solve it for you and make it easier. Or you can go, you know what? Step one is I got to get out my own. I got to get my own place. As soon as that happens, you got real bills. You got real responsibility. For some of y'all, that sounds scary. For some of you might be like, yeah, that's what's up. It's time. Look, I moved out when I was 17. Fuck, man. One of the most powerful things I've done. One of the most challenging things I've done. And there was multiple times where I wanted to move back. I'd be like, man, fuck, this is just so hard. I want to move back. And I didn't have great direction, man. Stumbling and bumbling. Didn't go to college right out of high school. Working shitty jobs. I think my first job was part-time job making like $5.25 an hour. Like that's what minimum wage was at the time. That wasn't enough to pay my bills. Like legit starving at times. But there was something inside like, nah, man, I just can't move back. Like I got to keep going. Got to figure this out. And it took years to do that. But when I started to get momentum, you're like, yo, these are real skills I'm learning because I got to learn how to hunt. And I went into a lot of like sales style and, more business style, sales style job roles because it forced me to learn certain skill sets. And I wanted to develop skills. And then I developed those skills. I was able then to apply them to creating different businesses and going into business, right? Which was very helpful, but it wasn't easy. But a lot of it was I didn't need to keep up with the Joneses. So, Derek, Tommy, Timmy, whatever, they go out, they get a job, they get a nice car right away. Part of you is like, damn, yo, like, I want to be cool like that. I want to have the nice car. But I could just kind of tell they weren't happy, dude. Like, they weren't enjoying things. Like, when we were going out, like, yo, let's go do something. Like, I remember going on a vacation. Like, hey, we're all going on a cruise for like 4 days. And those guys couldn't leave. Bro, I can't go. And guess what? Now it's like 20 years later, and it's the same story. They still ain't nowhere to be found. And I just didn't want to live that life. So I wanted to make my money a little bit differently. I wanted to learn how to hunt. That was the key. I craved that evolutionary pressure. I didn't know it. And again, many times, still, man, I have my moments where I'm like, fuck, dude, like, just want this shit to be easy. But you really don't. You really don't. You really don't. Because it's forging you. It's transitioning you from the boy to the man. And that's epic. That's going to help you make more money. And let's arc over to dating. Okay, now, remember I said that guy walks a little bit different. Like someone who's been out metaphorically hunting all day walks a little bit different than the guy who's just been sitting there eating food, picking it off, an arm's reach distance from himself and eating all day long. There's a little bit of difference in their walk, isn't there? It's the mice in the maze. The mice who sat there and just ate cheese all day probably walk and look a little bit different than the dude who went out and still hunted every day. So did you know that statistically, a woman can understand how confident a man is within a matter of seconds just by the way that he walks? So think about that. Now, do you think they're going to be attracted to a man who's not confident? Why would they be attracted to that? Like, maybe every now and then you meet a woman like that who just wants a guy who's not confident in himself. But why would she want that? It's because she want to rule the man. She probably has a lot of trauma around being rejected, a lot of trauma around being abandoned. Maybe she's gone through different past events. And so this guy feels safe to her. Fair enough. But that guy is going to live a very docile life. He will stay a boy. That's just facts. He will stay the boy. And I know you don't want that, right? You want to be the man. You want to have a little swagger in your step, a little energy to the way you move, right? And a woman needs to feel that from you. And it's something that can't be bought, can't be faked. You got to step into life and earn it. You earn it. It's like, one of my hobbies, martial arts. Look, and there's different belt systems. And whatever, like, even regardless, let's not even look at the belt. Let's say we're standing on the mat and you're standing with someone who's done it for 10 years, right? They've trained this martial art for 10 years. And let's say you haven't. And you're like, you might say, oh, I'm a good fighter. Oh, I know how to do this. I'll be fine. But when it really comes down to it, homie, you can't fake it. It is what it is. And so it's the same when it comes to meeting a woman. She can tell, like, are you really who you say you are? That's what you might have heard this phrase. It's called a shit test. Women will shit test men. And that's what a shit test actually is. She's checking to see how congruent you are. Like, are you who you pretend to be? Like, let's say you take her out and look, I don't think this is being the man, but a lot of guys act like this because they think this is what men do. They go out and they pull their money out, right? Oh, girl, drinks on me. Oh, come over here. I got dinner. You know what that's actually fucking showing? It's some beta bitch shit. That's what a beta does, right? It's literally what a beta does because they're not enough. And so that guy's going to get shit tested. And she's going to start doing little things, poking at you, testing you. Go do this, do that, do this. Checking your emotions to see if you can actually handle her. If you actually can be the person that can move towards the storm, because that's what her DNA is looking for. Because we are designed to evolve as a species. And so if you haven't experienced evolutionary pressure, you're not ready to evolve, she's not going to want to reproduce with you. And a woman always has to be aware of that because even by accident, that can take place, right? Next thing you know, she's pregnant with some beta motherfucker's kid. She ain't going to like that. She will resent you. She will hate you for that. That's why if you ever notice in a relationship, I won't get ahead of myself. We'll stick on dating. But if you do know, we'll go to this a little bit in a second. But if you do notice in a relationship that your woman's kind of just pushing you a lot, it's because you've lost that frame. It's because you're questioning yourself. You're wondering if it's all going to be okay. You're probably in a little downward spiral. Maybe it's just for a moment. It's a few days. It's a week. It's a month. Maybe it's been years. Who knows? And she is going to push and push and push. She's actually helping you. That's actually a gift in that moment. But let's save that. Let's stick on dating. Again, it's an energy. It shows up in the way that you walk. I remember I was in watch this example, kind of makes sense. I remember I was in San Diego at an event and I'm going for my morning walk or whatever, just kind of exploring the area. And I walk by this construction zone and this dude walks out and he's like this old grizzled vet, right? And, he's probably like 20 years older than everybody that works there. He's like smoking a cigarette and he's just kind of like, the way he walked just had like this strut to it. And I'm walking behind him and I'm just kind of checking it out. First, I'm like annoyed by the cigarette smell. I'm like, oh, cigarette. Then I'm like looking around like, whoa, oh, this is the dude. I could just feel it. I'm like, this is the leader right here. He just had that, like, he had been through stuff. He had seen it all, right? He had experience. And then sure enough, you could see they're all like, the tension kind of goes to him as he walks around. They all want to make sure that boss man is cool with what they're doing. And if you think about it, he's just seen all of the different stories. Oh, hey, boss, can't make it in today. My freaking dog is sick, right? Whatever, Oh, hey, boss, we're out of this, whatever. Like he's seen it all and he knows actually what's going on. That's from experience. And it's in the way that he moves. And so woman senses that from you. Are you a boy? Are you actually doing things in life? Have you gone through challenges? Because if she chooses, deep down again, this is primal, right? She's kind of sensing, if I choose to go in relationship with you, what is my life going to look like? And not just my life. If we do reproduce, what is my life with my kid and me going to look like? Because her and the kid are going to link together. And oftentimes it's the men, right? That if you look in the past, got killed out in battle or something like that, got sick or left. So she's always looking through that lens. Like, what are you going to be? What type of dude are you? Because life, instinctually, they understand as well, will be challenging. You will face difficult seasons. So she's looking through that stuff right up front. And so here's the mind fuck, dude, is you think your money is actually a sign of that. I told you it's some beta shit. I'm about to show you why. So you think that, well, if I make more money and I show her my money, that's a sign of strong evolutionary potential. In some ways, yes. Like if they can sense you can actually make money, right? Like if what that actually looks like, if you lose it all, can you go out and make it again? It's more of that than like, have you just made money? Do you have money? Because that can go away. If it's not like a skill set, like I said in the beginning, I wanted to understand skills that would help me create money and learn how to make it in different ways versus just get the golden handcuffs. If you've just got the golden handcuffs, well, those golden handcuffs can go away, my friend. Absolutely. You probably know somebody who's had it happen. So that's actually what she's looking for. That's what she's trying to see. So when you lead with your money, you're like, I got this over here. Like instinctually, they just know like, well, what are you overcompensating for? That's what they're looking for. Versus, let's say a guy who's like, whether he has money or doesn't, he just takes that equation off the table. And he's like, if you want to hang out, this is how it's going to look. He starts leading from the beginning. I got this going on. I have this going on. You're welcome to join. Direction, leadership. Okay. She hops in, they join. He leads while they're there. They do cool things. They experience different realities. It's not boring. It's not the same. It's not normal. Every other guy she went out with tried to impress her with a date. Oh, let's go to fucking Olive Garden. Oh, we'll do a little fancier one. Oh, we'll do a little fucking, and just kind of try to fight each other in the ladder of dates. Beta shit. Look, that's one of the areas I get a lot of pushback because guys just don't understand, bro. You've been conditioned to think like that's how you win. That's romance, and that's what it means to court a woman. The other guy can court a woman just as easy. He's also doing that, but in a different way. And look, a woman wants a man who has direction, who has a mission, who has a purpose. She's looking for that because if she's your sole mission and your sole purpose, they actually don't find that attractive. It's weak. They will leave you. They will cheat on you with the guy who's doing this. I'm telling you, some of y'all have found that out, haven't you? That's why sometimes just that like present moment fuckboy energy, man, they get attracted to it. Because that dude's just so in the moment, so swagged out, right? Doesn't mean on the back end, probably fucked up. They ain't going to probably date the guy long term, but they're attracted to it because they present some of that energy, right? So that's what you're looking for in relationship, in dating, is evolutionary pressure naturally creates that type of energy. That's the key to understand, is as you increase evolutionary pressure, it naturally increases what I like to call being choice worthy. That's what her DNA is doing. Are you choice worthy? And so rather than running to be like, I got to have the right pickup lines, I got to make money, do those things, like understand these concepts, make the money, but you're doing it for you, right? And you do it for you, it's naturally going to create this level of like direction, right? Decisiveness in your voice and the way you talk and the way you move. That actually increases attraction. And so you're open to meeting women. You don't need to block out like I need to get 2 years, get everything right. Just do your thing. But you never stop doing it. Even when you meet the girl, you're like, all right, cool, let's hang out. You can come on board. Let's ride this thing out. Let's have some fun. And maybe that's for a little while. Maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's 6 weeks, maybe it's 6 years, maybe it's 16, maybe it's 60. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. You just keep on with your mission. Keep doing your thing. You stay grateful for each experience with every woman that comes into your life. They can teach us a whole lot. They can expand your world. They hold the keys to the universe. They will carve away your weak beta bullshit. They will punish you every time you go down that road. My friend, that's okay. That's why going down this path helps you in relationships. Because when you're not adding evolutionary pressure, continuing to grow, continuing to expand, you start to get boring. You move into this uber provider energy. That's where a lot of men get stuck. Oh, I got married. Oh, I have kids now. And you go too far over and you go all in this provision energy. And then you lose your killer instinct. And what do you hear from guys, right? Man, I used to be so fucking, I don't know if it was just, I was young and my testosterone, I was horny or blah, 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 whatever. Like I felt all this energy, but I just don't have it anymore. That's why. Because you started moving this, the provider energy of what you thought a man was supposed to be now. Look, a woman will never tell you this. Cheers, by the way. Love yerba mate, start the day. A woman will never tell you this, but they are extremely turned on when other women find you attractive. Now, why would that be the case? Again, what are we talking about here? Evolution, the DNA, what's deeply programmed in the subconscious. And so if other women find you attractive, what might that say about you? Oh, he's high on the fucking evolutionary ladder. He's a prime choice. And so even when you are in a relationship, you still need to go out, take her with you, take your woman with you and go do things, be social, be active, and just let her see energy and attention around you. Now, one of the other great benefits about this is if you move too far into this provider type of energy, you lose all your swagger. Okay. You don't need that swagger necessarily where you were when you were, 20 years old, but you want to at least be somewhere in the middle. You want to have some swagger. And when you go out, when you socialize, when you engage with different people, it forces that out of you, right? Like I'm thinking about this the other day. I'm out with some friends hanging out. I go out totally sober so I can be consciously aware of exactly what you and I are talking about. That's a whole nother concept, but it's important because you actually learn. You actually get those reference points. But I go out and I'm just sitting there. And I'm just, at this moment, I'm just listening to the music and there's just people around. That's all I'm doing. I'm not really engaging with much yet, right? I'm not really poking at the environment or anything like that. But I'm just there. I'm hearing the music. And I just feel, I'm just like moving with it, right? I'm just kind of riding the energy. And in my mind, I'm like, dude, even this is powerful, right? We just left somewhere else where we're talking with different people and engaging, go to this new place and just kind of feeling the vibe for a minute. But as I'm feeling the vibe, I'm also crafting and creating the vibe, right? And the vibe is way more attractive when you meet a woman, when you're in relationship. That's how women experience you. Fucking don't believe me? Try it. Go out, talk to a girl, and she'll probably ask you if you actually talk to them. By the way, I heard this stat the other day. I might fucking mess it up, but it's closely accurate what I'm going to say. Like most men by the age of 30, half of them, I believe, 50%, have never approached a woman. So half y'all don't even fucking know. So just fucking shut up. Like you don't even get it. Right? The other half you actually do approach women. And maybe it's the 3 girls you approach. Fucking way to go. Right? Try approaching 300. And then you can get a decent reference point on this stuff. But what's taking place in this instance when you go approach them is they're giving you feedback on your vibe. So what most men think, and this is what will happen, is that woman at some point is probably going to ask you what you do for a living. She'll say like, oh, so what do you do? And you, being logical, men, we operate from the logic center of our brain. And this is uber fucking important to understand, is females operate from the emotional center of their brain. So when she asks you that question, you jump over to your logical brain and your brain fucking lights up. You're like, ooh, yay, I get to tell her all the great things I've done. And you're like, well, I'm the fucking director of operations and, I'm doing this and just bought a house over here and blah, blah, blah. And watch what they do. Oh, that's cool. They just start to fall asleep. You just blend in with the fucking noise. You blend in with the noise. So what if, and what you're learning in that moment is the vibe is what matters. So rather she asks you that, what do you do for a living? I cannot tell you that. That's just top secret, girl. What do you do? What are you doing here? I don't even know why you're here. How old are you? Get back. It's curfew time. Like that's a different energy. That's a different form of calibration. You only get that through experience. It's the grizzled vet, like I talked about earlier. So in that moment, you are talking to her language, which is emotions, feelings, a vibe. She starts to laugh. She's giggling. She's having a good time with you. That's what fucking matters. That's what matters. So when you find yourself in a relationship, motherfucker, what happened is you went way too logical. You're boring her to death. She's getting bored. And then what happens? She meets, like I said earlier, some fuckboy type of energy, and there's attraction there because the guy's so loose. He's so in the moment, right? She ain't going to want to reproduce with him necessarily, but it's going to be attraction there because he has that emotional, like, identity dialed in. The vibe is dialed in. It's optimized. You optimized to put money in the bank. Fuckboy optimized to do just that, to reproduce, to have sex. And it's going to be attractive. So you, my friend, got to do both. That's just the key. And you can do it. You can be somewhere in the middle. So go out, experience the world, stretch yourself, talk to people, socialize. No goal. Don't even have a goal. You're not even trying to like win or be good or be validated. Forget that shit. It's for you. It's just to craft things out. And sometimes just being around the environment, listening to music, moving a little bit, laughing. That's a start. That's very good. Because again, we get way too logical, and that bores them to death. And honestly, it'll bore you to death, man. And you'll get better ideas, better flow in life when you can balance and go back and forth between these energies. So next time we will talk about how to do that, how you can engage with that. But most importantly is to understand there is value in having evolutionary pressure. Going out and socializing, my friend, is a form of evolutionary pressure. Your brain's like, yo, how do I like kind of win this group over? How do I engage with the group? How do I make it so what I say matters, that my voice influences here a little bit? Evolutionary pressure. There's many ways to do it. So start. Best time to start was yesterday. Next best time to start is today. My friend, made this video for you. See you soon. See you next time. Peace.